Has this ever occurred to you? You offer a man your time, your focus, and your emotional heart, but instead of coming closer, he starts to drift away. His replies get shorter, his warmth disappears, his interest feels weak, as if you were never truly special to him. Suddenly, you are no longer the one he chooses. You are just one of many options. As you feel that distance grow, something inside you starts to tighten. A deep frustration builds up, along with confusion, worry, and a feeling of having no power. You replay every talk in your head and wonder what you did wrong. You begin to change yourself, trying to be softer, nicer, and more patient. You try much harder. You offer more love. You give him more chances, a second, a third, even a 10th. You make excuses for his cold behavior. You try to justify his lack of care. You turn tiny crumbs of affection into imaginary feasts just to satisfy your emotional hunger. Yet nothing changes. He stays distant, hard to reach, and only halfway there, a mystery that feels like it might choose you soon but never actually does. Today at Mentalita Diodea, something must be said clearly. Something that might be hard to hear and could change everything you thought you knew about attraction and how men think. The truth is not that you are not good enough. The truth is not that you failed to love him the right way. The truth is not that you did not speak clearly. The truth is found within the male ego. The male ego is a sensitive but strong force, and it does not react to kindness in the way you might assume. It does not react to your sacrifices. It does not react to your emotional giving. It reacts to feelings, not what you say or what you give, but how you make him feel. Once you learn how to pull those emotional strings and understand the deeper psychology behind his actions, something huge happens. The whole situation flips, the power changes hands, and the confusion goes away. Suddenly, you are no longer hunting for answers. You are the one being chased by his desire. This is not about playing games, being mean, or manipulation. It is about understanding human behavior from a place of personal strength. It is about an emotional plan based on self-respect. It is about becoming a woman who no longer reacts without thinking, but chooses her path on purpose. You see, a man's ego runs on a different emotional track than most women realize. Women are often taught to find a connection through being consistent, giving reassurance, and being emotionally open. Men, however, at their deepest level, want something else entirely. They want to feel special, impossible to replace, and chosen, but not guaranteed. They want your attention to be selective. They want to feel wanted, but not needed. They want proof of their own power, their looks, and their influence over the emotional space. Inside, many men lives a boy hungry for praise, hidden inside the body of a confident adult. Every compliment feeds him. Every sign that you are available reassures him. Every hint that you are more invested than he is makes his ego grow a little larger. This is where most women lose the lead without knowing it. When a man knows exactly how you will act, when he can predict your forgiveness, your patience, and your long explanations, the relationship becomes emotionally flat, safe, and boring. The chase stops not because he dislikes you, but because there is nothing left to win. Strangely, this apparent strength of the male ego hides its biggest flaw. If you stop the constant flow of praise he expects, the admiration, the availability, and the predictable comfort, something amazing happens. When you stop acting as his emotional mirror and take away the reflection he relies on, you create a void. That void creates a sense of panic. Suddenly, he no longer feels confirmed. He no longer feels in charge. He starts to wonder if he still matters to you. This is the exact moment when obsession begins. Every time you run after him when he pulls back, every time you explain too much or beg for comfort to prove your worth, you feed his ego and make it bigger. An oversized ego does not love. It simply consumes. It likes power, and it likes when you give in. It enjoys knowing you will always be there, no matter how little it offers in return. That type of ego is never satisfied, and it will never respect you more for the sacrifices you make. In fact, the more you lower your emotional standards for a man, the less value you have in his eyes. This isn't because you lack worth, but because you have shown him that he does not have to work to keep you. This is the cycle that must be broken. To break it, you must stop trying to be chosen and become the woman who is willing to walk away. A new way of interacting must take the place of the old one where you are not the constant source of emotion, one where you are not the predictable factor, one where your presence is valued specifically because it can be lost. This is where psychology becomes your best tool. Men do not become obsessed with things they can predict. They do not fall deeply for emotional safety that is handed to them for free. They fall for intensity and for a challenge, for the woman. They cannot fully figure out, control, or own. Think about it carefully. How many times have you seen a man chase a woman who gives him very little while he ignores the one who would give him the world? This isn't because men like to suffer. It is because the basic mind links a challenge with high value. What is easy to get is naturally seen as less important. This is not about being cold-hearted. It is about becoming emotionally unpredictable in a calm, smart, and intentional way. If every time he moves away, you move closer, he learns that he controls the gap between you. If every time he pulls back, you beg, he learns that he controls your feelings. But if the moment he steps back emotionally, you quietly move away without any drama or explanation, something inside him loses its balance. He expected you to be afraid. He expected you to chase him. He expected a reaction, but instead he gets silence. That silence does not feel calm to him. It feels like a threat because it suggests something he cannot easily handle, that he might have lost his emotional grip on you. This is where everything starts to shift. He begins to replay moments in his mind, your last talk, your tone of voice, and your absence. He asks himself questions he never cared to ask before. Did I push too far? Did she finally stop caring? Did I lose her for good? And then, the most dangerous thought of all enters his mind without his permission. Perhaps she no longer needs me. That thought strikes him directly at the core of his ego. A man's sense of power comes from the belief that he is always wanted, that he can pull away and still be followed, and that he can create space without any cost. When that belief breaks, and his usual methods fail, something basic wakes up inside him. He feels a restlessness and a deep need to prove his value again. This is where many women make a huge mistake. They feel scared by the silence and rush to fix it. They explain themselves, try to be clear, and reach out just to talk. By doing this, they save him from the very tension he needs to feel. Silence is not empty. Silence is a form of pressure. When you move away emotionally without being mean or dramatic, you force him to sit with his own doubt. You take away the comfort of your reassurance. You deny him the proof that he is still in charge, and for the ego, being in charge is everything. You must understand this deeply. Men do not fear losing a woman the same way women fear losing a man. Women often fear being left behind, but men fear becoming unimportant. They fear that they no longer matter or can be easily replaced. So, when you vanish from his emotional radar and stop reacting or explaining, he does not feel relieved. He feels unprotected. Your silence acts like a mirror, and in that mirror, he sees the chance that he might not be significant anymore. This is why choosing to be silent is so strong. It is not about punishing him or playing games. It is the silence of self-respect. You do not tell him you are pulling away. You do not make threats or give warnings. You simply put your energy back into yourself. This is where the change becomes permanent. While he is confused and unsure, you are growing. You start to focus on yourself with the same energy you used to give to him. You focus on your body, your thoughts, your goals, and your future. You stop revolving around his moods or measuring your worth by his attention. You stop waiting. The more stable you become, the further away he feels from you. This isn't because you are being cruel, but because you are no longer available whenever he wants. This creates a puzzle in his mind. He wants you, but he can't reach you like he did before. He desires you, but he no longer feels he has a right to you. Desire mixed with uncertainty is very powerful. Now, it is important to know that this is not about being cold or pretending you don't care. It is about breaking the pattern. Being predictable kills desire faster than being rejected ever could. When a man knows that no matter what he does, you will stay and forgive him, he relaxes too much. He stops trying and stops chasing. The spark dies, but when your actions no longer follow the expected path, his mind has no plan to follow. He becomes alert and focused. This is where pulling back strategically comes in. It does not mean leaving forever. It means stepping away at the exact moment he expects you to do more. At the high point of a great talk, you end it. When things feel close, you are the one to leave first. When he feels most secure, you become busy. Do this calmly, not with drama. You leave him with unfinished feelings, and that is what keeps people thinking at night. Imagine he sends a vague text meant to test you or make you feel anxious. Most women reply right away with questions. A strong woman does something else. She waits. She does not rush or react with emotion. She might reply much later or not at all, not to be mean, but because she doesn't feel the need to prove anything. This lack of reaction ruins his plan. He expected you to be unsure or to work hard for him. Instead, he gets nothing. Nothing hurts an ego more than realizing it can no longer get someone's attention. Your silence forces him to face the idea that you can no longer be pushed around. This is when obsession grows because he is now reacting to his own hurt pride. He starts checking his phone and rereading old messages. He wonders who has your attention and imagines things that aren't there. He feels jealous without any proof, which is the strongest kind of jealousy because his own mind creates it. You didn't accuse him of anything. You simply took away his access to you. Access that is taken away becomes very valuable. This is why being emotionally scarce works. You aren't holding back love. You are just not giving it away for free to someone who hasn't earned it. Men don't bond through feeling safe. They bond through effort. The more he works for the relationship, the more attached he feels. By stepping back, you force him to put in effort or lose you. This is the most important change. You stop trying to explain your value and let him feel what life is like without it. You let him experience your absence, and that becomes hard for him to handle. Meanwhile, something even better happens to you. You start to feel calmer and stronger. You realize your peace doesn't depend on him. Once you reach that state, everything flips. Even if he comes back acting curious and attentive, he will sense the change. You are no longer chasing or overgiving. You are present, but not trapped. You are kind, but not dependent. This position is devastating to the male ego because it shows him that while you can be wanted, you cannot be owned. That realization creates a hunger he cannot ignore. He begins to pursue you because his ego needs to feel chosen again. From this point on, the relationship no longer runs on habit. It runs on attraction, awareness. You are no longer reacting to his moods, his distance, or his lack of consistency. Instead, you are observing them. Observation is a source of power. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding the old pattern. Most unhealthy relationships survive because they repeat the same steps. He pulls away, you chase him, he returns, you forgive him, and then he pulls away again. This cycle continues until you are emotionally drained and he is emotionally bored. But the moment you stop following this script, the entire rhythm breaks. He no longer knows what your next move will be. Uncertainty, when mixed with attraction, quickly turns into obsession. Here is a deep truth that is rarely mentioned. A man does not become obsessed with a woman who gives him total certainty. He becomes obsessed with the woman who introduces uncertainty into his sense of control. This does not come from creating chaos. It comes from restraint. You restrain your reactions, your availability, and your need to explain yourself. This self-control speaks louder than any effort ever could. It signals high value. When you stop needing immediate answers or demanding comfort, and when you stop trying to fix what he breaks, you show him that your stability does not depend on him. This independence hits his ego directly because he is no longer the center of your world. He becomes optional, and nothing bothers a man more than realizing he is optional. This is why strategic indifference is so powerful. It isn't an indifference born of bitterness or used as a punishment. It is the natural indifference that happens when a woman truly knows her worth. You are not being cold. You are being selective. You are not distant. You are grounded. You are not holding back. You are simply self-contained. This containment creates a magnetic tension. Men are naturally drawn to women who do not leak emotional neediness. A woman who does not look for constant approval feels rare and unpredictable. She cannot be easily labeled or managed, and the male ego dislikes what it cannot categorize. He will eventually begin to test you. He might send a text just to see if you reply. He might try to make you jealous or suddenly act warmer. These are not random acts. They are probes to see if the old dynamic still works. This is where discipline is vital. If you cave at the first sign of interest or flood him with attention the moment he reaches out, you confirm that nothing has changed. You satisfy his ego and give him back control. But if you stay steady, warm but measured, present but not eager, you increase the imbalance. Now he is the one investing more. Now he is the one who is unsure and looking for clarity. Clarity is what he wants most, but you do not give it away. You let him feel the mystery. You allow him to wonder, to question, and to miss you. Missing someone isn't just about absence. It is created by contrast. It is the contrast between how available you used to be and how grounded you are now. It is the difference between being the center of your world and now being on the edge of it. This contrast is what breaks his old perspective. He now remembers you differently, not as the woman who waited and forgave everything, but as the woman who walked away energetically. Withdrawing your energy is far more effective than just disappearing physically. You might still be in his world or on his social media, but he can no longer reach your heart the same way. This unreachable quality triggers an ancient desire in men to reclaim and prove themselves. But the twist is that you are no longer waiting to be reclaimed. This is where true power begins. The moment you realize you don't need his obsession to feel valid, you become much more attractive to everyone. Your energy, posture, and decisions all change. You invest in your health and appearance because you respect yourself, not to get his attention. Your social life grows and your goals get sharper. This growth is visible. Even if he doesn't see you, people feel the shift in your energy. When a man senses you are thriving without him, it fractures his ego because it means he was not the source of your joy. He was just a participant, and participants can be replaced. This is unbearable for an ego that once felt essential. He begins to feel a sharp regret that keeps him awake, making him replay his mistakes and realize he miscalculated. He thought you would always wait, but now you are, moving on decisively. This is why personal growth is so devastating. You aren't boasting for attention, you are just living fully. A woman who blossoms after pulling away sends a silent message. You were never my limit. This message goes deeper than rejection because rejection only hurts pride while irrelevance destroys it. If he reaches out again, the dynamic must stay shifted. Do not rush or over-explain. Meet him from a higher emotional place. Be calm, centered, and observant. Listen more than you speak and respond rather than react. Let him invest without giving him a reward too early. Do not punish or interrogate him. Let his actions speak, as behavior is the only language that matters now. If he puts in effort, stay open but do not surrender. If he pulls back, return to your life without anger. This steadiness is what leads to obsession. Obsession is about unresolved tension, and that tension stays as long as he cannot predict the end result. He doesn't know if he has lost you or if he can win you back, and that lack of knowledge is what drives the mind.ego into overdrive. But here is the most important truth of all. This process is not about him, it never was, it is about you. Reclaiming your emotional authority, because the ultimate power is not making a man obsessed with you. The ultimate power is becoming so emotionally grounded that his obsession becomes irrelevant. And when you reach that state, something extraordinary happens. You stop seeking power and power begins to seek you. You stop chasing desire, and desire begins to chase you. You stop proving your worth, and the world starts responding to it. And whether he returns transformed or disappears entirely, you win because you have stepped into the position of a woman who chooses instead of waits. That position is unshakable. From this place of strength, the final transformation unfolds. Something subtle yet irreversible settles into your nervous system. You are no longer emotionally reactive. You are emotionally sovereign. Sovereignty changes everything, because now, even if he circles back with renewed interest, even if he suddenly becomes attentive, affectionate, or curious, you no longer feel the rush you once did. Not because you are cold, but because you are no longer empty. You are no longer waiting to be filled by his attention. You are already full. This is where many women get confused. They think the goal is to make him obsessed, but obsession is only a byproduct. The real shift happens inside you. You stop placing him on a pedestal. You stop assigning him the role of validator, savior, or emotional anchor. You see him clearly, not as potential or fantasy, but as behavior. Clarity is dangerous because it removes the illusion that once kept you hooked. Now you notice things you ignored before. The inconsistency, the subtle control, the emotional laziness, and the way he gave just enough to keep you attached, but never enough to make you feel secure. Instead of explaining these things away, you register them calmly. You stop romanticizing crumbs. This is when the power truly shifts. When a woman no longer idealizes a man, he feels it. He senses the loss of his imagined superiority. He feels that he is no longer being seen through hopeful eyes, but through discerning ones. Discernment terrifies the ego because admiration can be manipulated, but discernment cannot. A discerning woman is not impressed easily. She does not get intoxicated by charm alone. She watches patterns, notices effort, and measures consistency. She does not negotiate her standards emotionally. When a man realizes he is being evaluated rather than chased, something inside him tightens. He begins to self-correct and overthink. He begins to invest more deliberately, not because you asked him to, but because he senses that access to you is no longer guaranteed. Here is where many women sabotage themselves. They feel guilty for their power. They worry they are being too distant, too cold, or too unavailable. They fear losing him by not giving enough, and that fear tempts them to soften prematurely and return to old habits. But understand this deeply. The moment you return to being overly available, the spell breaks. Power in relationships is not loud. It is quiet and consistent. It is maintained through discipline. You do not swing back and forth or overcompensate. You simply remain grounded. Remaining grounded is far more challenging than chasing ever was, because chasing gives the illusion of control, while groundedness requires deep trust in yourself. On his side, his ego, deprived of constant validation, starts seeking it elsewhere. He may flirt or try to provoke attention from others, but none of it satisfies him the way your attention once did. Your attention was meaningful, and now it is gone. This absence of meaningful validation creates an itch he cannot scratch. He may try to re-enter your life casually with a message, a joke, or a memory, something safe that allows him to test the waters without risking rejection. This is a critical moment. You do not reward low effort with high access. You respond proportionally, polite, brief, and unemotional. You do not punish or chase. You do not open the door fully. You let him feel the distance, and distance creates gravity. The more distance he feels, the more effort he must apply to close it. Effort is what creates attachment. Men bond through effort, not reassurance. Every time he invests emotionally or mentally, he becomes more attached. Every time you overgive, you deprive him of that opportunity. So, you let him work. Working for your presence transforms how he perceives you. You are no longer the woman who is always there. You are the woman who must be earned. Being earned activates his pride. He wants to prove himself to you and to himself. But here is the quiet victory. You are no longer waiting to see if he will. You are observing whether he can. This shift changes the entire emotional terrain. You stop asking if he wants you and start asking if he deserves access to you. That question alone places you in a position of authority. Whether he rises to the challenge or fades away, you remain intact. Your self-worth stabilizes permanently because it is no longer based on his behavior. You are no longer hijacked by uncertainty or anxious in silence. You are no longer addicted to potential. You are present, and presence is magnetic. Men feel when a woman is rooted in herself and when her emotions are not scattered or leaking. This presence creates an unspoken hierarchy. He feels that he must step up to meet you, not the other way around. If he cannot and continues to offer ambiguity or half effort, you do not feel devastated. You feel relieved because you trust your boundaries and your ability to walk away without collapsing. This is the final fracture of his ego. The woman who can leave without drama or begging becomes unforgettable because she refused to accept less. He may try one last time to regain control with a dramatic confession or a promise of change. You listen with neutrality. You watch his actions and measure his consistency without rushing intimacy. Whether you choose to re-engage or not, the power remains with you because you are operating from choice rather than fear. Choice is the highest form of power. At this level, obsession becomes irrelevant because you are no longer trying to be unforgettable. You already are. And the final truth, the one that changes everything, emerges naturally.